I'm sorry. Yeah, we can get started now. So I am just getting set up on one end. So Mo, I assume we are going to be good on the tracking time.
Yeah.
So with that, Nader, whenever you are ready, you can start sharing your video. Make sure you check the sound button, and
Welcome,
we'll
Nader.
take our very first demo. And welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, excited to be here. So I built Podcast Pools, which is essentially a no-loss lottery system that allows for podcasts to monetize off the interest of people entering into a lottery. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So let me go here and share. So without further ado. Hello, my project is Podcast Pools. Win NFT episodes from your favorite podcasts. So what Podcast Pools is a no-loss lottery where the prize is an NFT episode of the podcast and the interest goes to fund the creator. So in my project, I built it on top of Into the Ether's podcast RSS feed. And you can think of this project similar to Patreon, but instead of people directly donating money to a creator, they are donating the interest from their money to the creator in order to potentially win an NFT prize. And this expands beyond podcasts. It's really for any content creation on the internet, so YouTube, Instagram, any kind of public good that can allow for people to monetize it. So the summary of how this works is that there's primarily two main smart contracts. There's the pool contract, which is where users deposit DAI in order to get tickets, and then that DAI is then locked in a compound to earn interest. The strategy contract determines who is the winner and who gets what. So in this case, the NFT is awarded to whatever user is selected, and the interest is awarded to the podcast creator as a way to fund the podcast. So looking at how this system is kind of architectured, the first thing is I have a server that's running in the background, and it's listening to the Into the Ether podcast feed. And an RSS feed is basically just a list of all the current episodes that the podcast has. So whenever the server sees that there's a new episode that's been added to the feed, it takes that data and then uploads it to IPFS. It gets the content hash and then mints a new NFT token with that content hash to the pool contract. The server then calls the strategy contract to let it know to add that NFT to the next prize. So let's go ahead and demo. Hopping over the UI, I'm going to go ahead and connect my Portis wallet here. And now that we're logged in, we can see that there's an option to deposit and withdraw DAI. We can also see that there's a current prize that says new prize coming soon. We're actually going to mint this with the server in a couple seconds here. But let me show you a little bit more data down here so we can see the total number of tickets that have been created, when the next prize drawing is going to be, the current balance that this account has for tickets, and then the DAI balance as well. So let's go ahead and pop over to our server. So I'm going to start this up. So it's listening to the Into the Ether podcast RSS feed, and it's grabbed the most recent episode. It's now uploaded to IPFS, and we've gotten the content hash back. It's minted the token, and then it's now added that token to the next prize strategy round. So hopping back to our UI, we can now see that the current prize is ETHUB Weekly 135 with a description and release date. And if we look back over in our server, we can see that the name of the podcast that we upload to IPFS was ETHUB Weekly 135. So let's go ahead and deposit some DAI. This is the first time we deposited, so I'm going to go ahead and approve DAI. Click confirm. And now that we've submitted that transaction, I'm going to go ahead and enter an amount. I'm going to say, let's use 50 DAI to get some tickets, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so 1 DAI is 1 ticket. So the transaction's been submitted for this. We can actually view it on Etherscan here. So you see the transaction's pending. And now we can see the transaction is successful. Scrolling down, we can now see that the total number of tickets has gone up by 50, as well as our ticket balance has gone up by 50. Withdraw is a very similar process to deposit, so I'm not going to show it, but this has been Podcast Pools, and thank you very much.
Awesome. No, thanks for, I'll turn my video while I talk. Thanks for that amazing demo and being the first to present today. Super well done. I got a preview of this thing last week, so I will let our judges kick off with the first set of questions and comments.
Yeah, you
I'll
built
get
this. Sorry,
Let's
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Nader. Yeah, it's the latency. Nader, that was, first of all, good job and like super clear presentation. I think like really well done, really just very clear, which was awesome. I assume some of the no loss lottery stuff was inspired by Pool Together or some of the thoughts behind them. I'm actually just quite curious. Pool Together and their infrastructure isn't used in this. You built all that kind of logic yourself, right?
So they recently released V3, which allows you to build any strategy you want on top of their prize pool contracts. So I actually used Pool Together V3 for this. So thank you. That's a good clarifying question.
Cool.
And you just build it by yourself, right?
Yep, I'm a solo hack. It's just me.
What was like the most difficult part about that?
Is actually, so RSS feed stands for really simple syndicate. They're pretty commonly used kind of like web infrastructure, most commonly used in podcasts. And the format that they use to send data is in XML. I've never worked with XML, so I needed to get my server to parse the incoming XML to JSON. Luckily there was a bunch of libraries out there that I could use, and shouts out to whoever maintains those, because you're doing good work out there. But yeah, that was definitely the hardest part, was parsing XML to JSON.
All right, so it wasn't even the Web3 infrastructure, it was really Web2 legacy tech.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good to hear. It used to be always the other way around.
That was awesome. I'm glad you used Compound, obviously, and the Pool Together V3 contracts. I guess, and like Hart said, really well packaged, like for sort of a multi-week hackathon to get to a real working product that shows like a lot of potential for the future. I guess I'm curious what your motivation was. Like, how did you come up with this idea? Do you listen to a lot of podcasts? Like, what do you think? Would you be a listener or a podcast creator or an NFT collector?
Mm-hmm. Definitely all the above. Yeah, like I'm a huge fan of Into the Ether, and shout outs to Eric and Anthony for letting me use their podcast feed for this. Yeah, the idea was inspired by Vitalik. He was on a certain podcast and they were just talking about like, what is a way that I could use cryptocurrency to kind of monetize this podcast without having to run ads. And I thought that idea was really interesting. And so I just kind of wanted to expand upon it and build upon it. And I think kind of the underlying premise of this is it's an incentive because you can have a one-of-one unique part of the podcast, right? It's like, it's a public good, right? Anyone can listen to the podcast, anyone can learn from the podcast, but you own that one NFT of the podcast, right? And that's the prize. And it's totally transferable. You can sell it on secondary markets. You could have special meetups for people that own these NFTs. So I think there's like a whole community aspect around it. And also it's a no loss lottery. So like you as a contributor, you're not directly donating money, you're just donating your interest to fund this podcast.
What's hashed on IPFS is a link to the episode hosted on a server somewhere.
So
not the episode itself.
So yeah, so I actually didn't know much about how ERC 721s work before this. And the way it works is there's a thing called a token URI, which stands for Uniform Resource Indicator, which basically is a pointer to some resource out on the internet that holds data about that token. So a good example is like CryptoKitties, like there's an image and there's like a bunch of data about it, right? But that doesn't live natively in the smart contract because it's too expensive to store. So what they store is a link to somewhere else, to a server. But instead, this case, I used IPFS, an IPFS hash. So when you create that token, when you want to get the data about that token, you pass in the ID, and the ID returns this link, or in this case, a content hash to IPFS, where you can go get the data. So the name and the image and all the data about the episode.
Cool.
That's all the time we have for questions today. Thank you so much,
Well done,
Podcast Pools.
Thank you, very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Awesome. So next up, we have Lucidity, and I think they've raised their hand, so we'll just promote them. And as soon as you're here, feel free to kick off with your demo video.
Sure. Hey, can everyone hear us or hear me?
Yes, we can, Andrew.
All right, awesome. So let me share my screen real quick. So our team's product was Lucidity, and it's focused on public procurement projects, bidding, and funds management. I'll let the video explain the rest.
Andrew, I think you forgot to click the audio button. We're not getting audio.
Oh, my bad. Can you hear now? Hey everyone, today I'm here to talk
Yes.
to you about our project Lucidity. The problem that Lucidity is trying to tackle is the problem of public procurement and public project corruption, right? Which leads to an estimated $1.3 trillion of misused funds every year. A lot of this is due to lengthy bidding periods that lead to more opportunities for bribery or price collusion, as well as how little room there is for public opinion on how the funds are used, as well as their management. Over here, we've broken down the public project process into 4 parts: the planning phase, bid evaluation, and implementation and monitoring. Most notably, there are 2 common issues that lead to corruption. The first is bribery, and the second is a mismanagement of funds. And here I've listed 2 examples. What we're offering to bring to the table is a public project bidding and funds management platform built on the blockchain Ethereum. We have 2 main focus areas from this hackathon. The first was in bidding, where we wanted to make sure bids were anonymized and permanent to make it harder to collude or change prices. The second focus area was implementation and monitoring, where we use milestones that can be made fairly complex and combined into unions or split into sub-milestones and allow for more granular monitoring of funds use. Think something like covenants. Right now, milestones are reported on through oracles, which can be an auditor or a group of auditors, but in the future, we want to be able to use IoT sensors as well. Here you can see the basic flow of our project, and next I'm going to move into our tech demo. For this example, we're going to submit through here. So I'm going to submit a new project as a project owner. Now I'm going to become a bidder, and I'm going to see the milestones that were entered and price it myself. After this has been sent in, the owner can pull up all of the bidder proposals and click on the one that they think best matches their budget. And after this, they can start the funding period. So now that will send everything to a textile IPFS thread DB for us to pull later on in this demo. I'm going to connect to the project. Here, the project data is pulled from the IPFS server. If I'm the funder, I can choose to fund it for 500 DAI, let's say. And this will give me an NFT token, basically saying I funded it. And we'll see here my balance is now 9,500. So as an auditor, I can see what the targets are. I can set a milestone using Gnosis conditional tokens. And once it goes into there, it's now managed in the escrow contract. All right. And if a milestone is met, I can confirm milestone was met. And now as a bidder, I can redeem the payout from that milestone. And I can see my funds here. Ultimately here, we're also using the graph to track all new projects and all new funders. So I can see the project as well as fund data here. So for the rest of the year, we're planning on adding account authentication, a scored auction that's more transparent, the ability to choose the milestone you fund based on risk tolerance, as well as data tied from real sensors or public voting into milestone reporting. All right, that is our demo video.
Thank you so much. I'll let the judges ask questions.
Great. So it seems how many are you in the hack team? Like, it seems like you filled a lot of stuff.
We had 5. I think three dropped off, and then somewhat came back. But I feel like it's mostly Oscar, me, and Nick kind of handling the development. Probably 6 hours a night for the last 20 days.
Very cool idea. I mean, I like it. You're basically pretty much going straight for one of the biggest problems society has.
Yep.
So I love I really love the scope and ambition. I wish it could be implemented. Obviously it's a hackathon, so it's really good.
Yeah. So we actually, Oscar's talking to the UNICEF innovation team, I'm trying to work with some people in South Africa and also trying to talk to some NGOs so we can try to have someone actually give feedback and pilot this project.
Nice.
Yeah, Andrew, I think this is exactly what Ethereum is useful for. It's like programming incentive structures, right? It's an amazing concept, and so I think like Lasse said, using the ambition of this is massive.
Yeah.
I guess which is awesome. So like, well done to you and your team.
Thank you.
I guess I'd ask, what was did anything in particular drive your team towards this idea? Obviously a huge problem, but like, how did you guys? What was the inspiration, or what was the source of where you kind of came up with this?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest sources is the World Economic Forum did a presentation earlier in June where they did a test run with, I forget which school, but in Colombia in particular, where they built out a bidding process and talked about how there was a lot of push from different countries in Latin America to try to put their procurement process on the blockchain, because there's been a lot of history there. So I think as soon as we saw like their RFP from the World Economic Forum, as well as the interest from countries and governments, we thought this would be a good idea to try to tackle.
Very cool.
Sorry, my dog's in the background whining.
Hey, great work. I think really well done. I'm excited to hopefully get a chance to look at that that diagram that you showed before going to the demo. It's pretty complicated. We just gotta get of it.
Yeah.
But I think like Hart and Lasse have said, it's super innovative in the sense of, if you think about the current flow of funds for how people run this process, it's sort of insanely non-transparent and unable to be like audited in a way that your system starts to solve. I also noticed kind of like, it's really cool how composable the pieces have become. Like, you're using those conditional tokens, IPFS, and that probably helps bootstrap the system a lot. So it's amazing how much you can get done in a few weeks. What do you think about as kind of an MVP application of this? Like, I don't think you're gonna go straight away to Colombia and build a school. Maybe you are. Like,
no, I mean, we'll definitely try, but I think we're looking for, like, at the start, something like agriculture projects, because that leans itself easily from like the bidding and documentation side, as well as like the data side. It's pretty, I don't want to say easy to track, but easier to track, and there's a lot of kind of low risk projects in that area. Eventually, I'm also looking to see if this can be done in like renewable energy and solar projects, because there's a lot of that's trying to be built out in Africa, where they're looking for more risk sharing and kind of interoperability of systems. So, but yeah, government projects is probably going to be hard to push as a first MVP. So.
Awesome. Well, if there are no more questions, Andrew and team, I hope that you continue working on this. Hopefully get some sleep instead of 6 hours a night. But this was awesome. Thanks for putting in the last 3 weeks on making this work for ETHOnline.
Thank you all for the support.
Great. So thanks again. And now we are ready to move on to our next team, and that is Project Prana. So we will be playing the video for them. So the team is here, but we'll play the video on our side, and we'll just let them kind of come in for the Q&A part. So I believe Anna is going to be writing up the video, and I'll let her cue that up. I don't think it's playing. I think you gotta hit play one more time.
Sorry, just having some technical difficulties.
No worries. Let me just do that on my end if that's easier.
I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
With their copy of the ebook. On our platform, every user can interact either as an author or as a reader. On the reader page, there are two tabs, My Library and Grab a Book. A user can grab a book in three ways: buy from author, buy from other readers, or the user can rent a book from other readers. On the My Library tab, you can see the books owned by the user. On the reader page, you can see the books published by that user, and the user can access the content as well. If a user decides to publish a book, he or she can do that by filling up this form, giving details like title, ISBN, price, uploading the cover picture, the book content, and the creator's cut, which is nothing but the transaction cut that the author gets for every subsequent transaction on each individual copy of the book. Once the book is published, the user can see the published work on My Published Works tab. Here in this case, the work that he has published is Treasure Island. He can access the content as well. Now that a new book is published onto the platform and another user wants to buy that book, let's say from account number 2, the second user can buy that book by going to the Buy from Author tab. This is like buying directly from the author. So in the background, what really happens is a token is minted at this point. Once the transaction gets confirmed, the second user can see the Treasure Island book under the My Library tab along with the copy number. As an owner of an ebook, the user can also decide to add annotations which gets attached to this particular copy only. So here in this case, the Treasure Island copy number 1 has the annotation called Treasure Island, which is unique for this particular copy. No other copy will have this particular annotation. Now with the first copy of the Treasure Island, the user can decide to put it for resale at a price that the user wants. Now if a third user wants to get that book which is put for resale, let's say from account number 3, the user can get that book from the tab Buy from Other Readers. Once the transaction gets confirmed, the new book gets added under the My Library tab. Also, the user will be able to see the annotations given by the previous owner of the book. Now the third user can also decide to put the same book for rent at any price that he wants to. If you have another user who wants to get the same book for rent, let's say account number 1, the user can get that book from the tab Rent from Other Readers. Once the transaction gets confirmed, the user can see that book under the tab Rented Books and start accessing the content. Our user also owns the second copy of a modest proposal. Let's say our user wants to gift this particular copy to a friend. So the user adds an annotation which is very unique to this particular copy, and the user gets the account address of the person whom he wishes to gift. Now he can give away the same book by just mentioning the account number. Now if we go back and check the account of the user who got the gift, here in this case, which is account number 2, we can see the book and we can access the content and see the annotation as well.
Awesome. So I think the team is here. We just saw a demo of your ebook platform. Maybe I think it'll be helpful if you're able to kind of kick us off with sort of what made you decide to work on this, and then I'll let the judges ask any other questions.
So the primary inspiration was that, digital content, even though you buy ebooks or any sort of digital content, you don't really own that particular copy in the same way that you might own a physical copy of the book. So if you buy a physical copy, there are used bookstores out there, right? Those exist out there in the real world, and no one's asking any questions about that. But as soon as it's digital content, you can buy it, but you can't do anything else with it. Like you can just read it, but you can't gift it to someone or something like that. Part of the reason was that there's no way to distinguish different copies because of the very fact that these are digital copies. So we want to make them unique so that, there's a kind of a digital scarcity attached to them, and then see whether or not, you can give the users the kind of freedom that they want. So, yeah.
Yeah, guys, this concept of used digital content is pretty fascinating. It never occurred to me before. For example, I want Vitalik's copy of the Ethereum white paper, right? I'd pay extra for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Go ahead. No.
Yeah. So it's the same thing, right? I mean, people stand in queues for days to buy the very first iPhone, right? But like you don't have that kind of behavior for, let's say, Harry Potter book coming out in a Kindle store or something. So I think, people might be like, they'll be ready to pay a premium for the first copy or the 10th copy of something, or like you said, something that's already used by a celebrity, like, Emma Watson's Harry Potter copy, let's say. So, and with Alex white paper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy if you think about it, how restricted. There's no economic activity around content right now enabled. It's all these crappy silos of like iBooks. I can't do anything there. And so I think it definitely can go way beyond books. But this is a really, really good first kind of like focus area. And it looks
like
well done. And
yeah. I mean, we want like, it's the whole digital content ecosystem, but then we want like focus on ebooks in this particular case, because I mean, we believe that, even Netflix, if you think about it, like you subscribe to the content, but then you get a whole lot of thing, and then you are incentivized to binge watch the whole thing, rather than, watch in your own pace. Like you can't just buy the content and then watch it, let's say, 5 months later or something like that. So yeah.
What was the hardest part about building this?
The NFT part was a bit hard, and plus designing the UI, because none of us were UI designers, and it looked pretty crappy in the first round. So we had to like redesign the whole UI from the ground up again. Yeah, I guess that's what the hardest part was.
What this made me think of is I don't think anything has really come along and replaced Napster and sort of that like sharing ecosystem, but something like this could be a pretty interesting evolution of basically like file sharing networks. What is the rest of the stack really quickly? So there's each of the ebooks is implemented as an NFT that refers to a file somewhere, or is it?
Yeah. So like whenever a publisher comes and publishes his content, that's represented by an IPFS hash. And then like whenever a user buys from the author, like a publisher or an author, that's when the NFTs are minted. And then once the NFTs are minted, then you can like track the use, track ownership and everything, right? And plus all those annotations and cover pics and everything, those are all IPFS hashes. But like the cover pics or the general metadata of a particular title, those are all single IPFS hash. But those annotations are all individual to each of those copies. So those are all different IPFS hashes running along.
Cool.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for this project. So thank you so much, Prana, and I hope that you continue working on this. This is a really cool concept. I'd love to get Vitalik's copy of the white paper. Awesome. Well, thanks again. And we are ready to move on to our next team, and that is myVote by Indigo Theory. So Ron and team, you're here. Feel free to kick it off.
Cool. I'm Ron with Indigo Theory. We're an ethical hacker team that's based on empathy. And we were to start our project. The problem we're trying to face is that there is a ton of rejected ballots out there, and they're rejected for a whole bunch of different reasons. And one of the big ones that is causing invalidation is that the signatures don't match, ballots arrive late, people forget how to do the ballot process. There's a lot of failures inherent in the system right now today that we think we can solve, and we can solve that with blockchain technology. So we have a flow here on basically how the process works, and a user receives a ballot, they scan the QR code, or it could even be NFC depending on the scale and the size of the system. And then they have some options to help solve the issues that we identified in the beginning. So there's a physical ballot help center, there's a ballot acceptance check. And then if they really want to, they can vote online, which gives us some more benefits from the blockchain side. For users that just want to track their ballot, we're going to append a QR code onto the envelope, and they're going to scan that. And this could be scanned in a lot of different points in the lifetime of the ballot. It could be at the electoral office. It could be while it's in transit to the voter. And then they want to track it after they actually vote. And as we see here on the right, these readers could even be built into things like mailboxes or ballot boxes where the QR code or the NFC code is being scanned automatically as the vote's being put into the system. And these QR codes are going to be encompassed of a lot of the personal information, but also a UUID, a unique identifier that we're assigning to them. And this QR code is going to be scanned by the mobile app by different readers throughout the lifetime of the ballot. And what this provides to us is a physical ballot history. So we get a ballot timeline associated to the ETH address that we're generating off of the PII data and the unique identifier. We show our derivation path and a final address here. And then we can start to see the different checkpoints that the ballot's gone through. So we can see, has it been tampered with, or did it go to another location before it got to us? Did it actually get to its intended destination? We've also built in some mobile notifications to let people know that, they still need to vote and they want to give themselves enough lead time to get it through the mail system. The education component's a big piece that we've added to kind of help users through the ambiguous process of voting and going through the form. And these are videos and GIFs that we filmed that are part of the application itself. It's providing locations and dates and reminders and all the good things people need to vote during the process. And we've added some easy to understand videos that could be hosted on Filecoin or IPFS if we really want to decentralize it further. And this is just a very small example of a lot of the videos that we're including in the application, showing the process of ripping the stub off the ballot, the correct way to do it. For our more tech-savvy users, we're actually giving them a way to use the form here on the right and do voting through the app. And this gives us audit capabilities. We're writing the data on chain, but we're removing the PII and leaving things like the unique identifier. So a governmental agency or a vote tracking system could actually still recreate the Ethereum address and track which votes are happening on chain. And that gives us some really, really interesting possibilities to verifying elections and certifying them. And then at the very end, the user is going to get a cute little NFT token here showing that they voted in the United States. And that could be done through a bunch of different frameworks or systems, but it's basically an ERC 1155 token that's rewarded per UUID once the ballot has been tracked and counted. And now we're going to jump into a prototype of what the actual app looks like. So you should see on my screen here, we have the myVote application, and we're going to go ahead and trace the ballot. So we scan our QR code, and once it does the calculations, we can now check each of the events that are on chain and track the lifetime of the ballot. We have another flow in the app here where we can authorize a ballot. So when we receive the physical ballot in the mail, we can either scan it or type it in. We authorize it. And now we have the option to vote by mail with the guided education components, or we could vote online if we wanted to. And now this is going to take us through the form that we showed earlier, where we're going to select our candidates and we're going to submit this. This information does get encapsulated on chain. So it's really starting to bring up some interesting things on how we can approach elections a little bit better in the future using blockchain technology. We're Indigo Theory, and this is our project.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And it's definitely a very timely hack. So I'll let our judges ask some questions.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, I'm here in San Francisco in the US, and I have my ballot right next to me. So I am able to verify that your workflow kind of works for this ballot. But obviously super important problem. It's something people have talked about for a long time, I think, like applying blockchain to voting. So it's super cool to see it actually done. Does this work for, is this able to be generalized to like presidential elections, or like it works for any type of QR code, I guess?
Yeah, so we built the system in a way that it's modularized. So if we wanted to separate pieces out of the technology stack, we could do that. But we can also change the way the QR codes work, what information we're encapsulating. And now that we have a system in a flow, it's very easy to backfill all the information for other elections and work with different agencies that are running those types of elections.
Do you have
so guys, thoughts? I think, let's say, please.
Do you have any thoughts on sort of privacy? I think a lot of concerns about sort of, online voting on the blockchain is, that the privacy infrastructure isn't quite there yet. And then, imagine Trump having access to a public database of everyone who voted not for him, right? These kind of.
Yeah, there's definitely some security and privacy concerns there. And I think that's why we're appending UUIDs and things like that. So when we go to actually write the data on chain, we're removing the PII. So when we're encapsulating the data in the TX data field, it's only going to be the vote results. And I think we're doing that. So it's still tied to an Ethereum address. And if other systems or backend databases wanted to tie that to identity just for verification or to say that people didn't double vote, they could do that. But I think the goal was to get the vote information on chain, decouple it from the PII. And then that way, we envision a system where if we're doing all voting on chain, we can hit the certify button and it'll do the full audit of all the transactions and spit out the results. Obviously, with limited usage, you're only going to be able to certify a part of that. But looking forward, that's kind of our utopia vision.
Yeah, Ron and team, like, obviously, I think you found a target audience here where everybody in the Ethereum community cares a lot about validating voting. Like, this makes a lot of sense. I have two questions for you. First of all, I'm not American, so I don't actually know this voting process, but right now, is there any way for me to validate if my ballot was received and my vote was processed?
Yes, so that's, sorry, go ahead. Okay, so yes, so that actually is currently happening. It does depend on what state that you're in. So all three of us are located in Colorado. And so one of the awesome things that Colorado does is it lets you know when your ballot's on your way and it lets you know when it's been received. But one of the problems that we saw, even when tracking is provided at the state level, is that if you're taking a manual route when you turn in your ballot, the number one reason that a ballot gets rejected is because a human being has deemed that your signature is not your signature and therefore your ballot is being discounted. And so one of the problems that we're seeing is even if you were to turn your ballot in, it gets all the way to the end of the line. It's like, yes, we've received it, but by the time it actually goes through the manual judging process by a human being, if they're deeming that your signature doesn't match the one that they have on file and you have no idea what signature they have on file, and then they reject it, by the time you find that out, the affidavit that you have to sign and the paperwork that you have to put through, it's too late. So yes, there's tracking, but it's not solving for the issue of ballots being denied.
It's also not very granular, telling you each stop along the way. Like, I want to know, did somebody intercept my ballot before it got to me? And if the post office is scanning that or the electoral office is scanning that, we're tracking that on chain, I can now check and see, well, my ballot was at 2 locations. We could even tie geo-IP information to that if we really wanted to, and map APIs and really build that out so that I can verify, not just trust that my ballot made there without being intercepted by someone else.
Amazing, guys. Kartik, I don't know if we have time left, but yeah, amazing. Well done.
Yeah, we are actually exactly on time. So if there are any other pressing questions, feel free to ask them. But if not, we'll move on to our next demo. But this is really cool. It's kind of been surfaced already, but I want to definitely see a lot more privacy applications kind of integrated into this. And you already kind of talked about it being generalized enough to not be specific to just presidential elections. So I look forward to kind of more applications here for this tech. So thanks again. I hope you continue working on this. And we are going to move on to our next demo.
Thank you.
So just a note for all of the attendees here, we are coordinating who's next and getting that set up on the chat. So please monitor the chat for your project name, and that's when we'll know that you are there and you're ready for us to promote. So please keep that in mind as we kind of look at it. We are moving to Haciendas now, but the next team is going to be Compound-DApp. So if Compound-DApp is here, please raise your hand and monitor the chat to be ready to be promoted. So Xavier, I know you're here. I'll let you take it from here and just play your video. So feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Could you play the video?
Oh, it's on us. Okay, we did not have that notice. If you're not,
I've seen you've done before, so I didn't prepare, but I can. But
it was only for teams that requested this because we were assuming this would be.
Okay, I can if you want.
Yeah, if you're able to do that, let's do that. But if you don't have any internet issues on your end, then we can do it for you.
I'm fine. So I will try.
Make sure you check the audio box, and we are good to go.
Yeah. So do you see?
We do not. I don't think it's sharing, but okay. I will just play it for you here. Yep, I'll just do it on my side. All right.
Hello, my name is Xavier, and it is my pleasure to present to you Haciendas, a decentralized game to interact with digital assets and blockchains. So I've been teaching those technologies over the years, and I found it useful to give concrete examples to make it more tangible. And this is the purpose of this game. It looks like a game, but it's actually mostly an interface to interact with various smart contracts. So you can start to set up your wallet and then interact with a decentralized exchange and so on. So let's dive in. When we arrive, we can choose between 3 characters. This is a fully static website, so it can be hosted anywhere. And of course, it's already deployed on IPFS. So let's say we are a girl and we arrive to this word. So there is a quest first we have to find for 5 transactions. So can I do that? I'm probably gonna speed it up. Here we have 5 transactions, and now we can go and mine a block. So this is to introduce some concepts and also to earn the first cryptocurrency we get. So here we go. And we have it at the first time. So now we can directly claim those assets. So this is the most interesting part. So we interact with these folks, and he is gonna set up an account on Portis. Already have an account. Here, and now we are gonna receive our first assets. So we have to sign this transaction. And here they are. We have all real coins here. So the cryptocurrency of this game, we have 12 of them. And now that we have these, we can start playing with these and interact with other smart contracts. So there are 2 interesting ones. So first, we have a small decentralized exchange. So we can just buy USDC in exchange for our reals. So that's what we're gonna do. See, now I've received my 3 USDC in exchange for 1 real. Now I can buy a coffee with this. So this is a coffee place. And here I can buy a coffee. So again, it's a transaction. I'm losing USDC, of course, because I'm paying for my coffee. This game can be expanded, and this is the plan. So there is already a prepared chat and other options. The idea is that that would be a place where you could hang out and interact with different smart contracts. For instance, there is already a horse, rather a unicorn over there. So thank you very much for listening. I hope to see you soon.
Awesome. That was a really creative game and a demo. I have a bunch of questions myself, but I'll let the judges jump in first.
That was super fun. I mean, I want to play it. I think it's amazing to see an interface implemented that way. I guess, so the implementation is, like, what smart contracts exist? I guess you have like some proxy smart contract that controls players' contracts, or you just hold the keys of players' contracts and run transactions for them.
So actually, it's pretty simple. You have your account is third party, so you don't have to. So your keys are stored with them, and then you just interact directly with smart contract as you would do through a web interface. I did also. You could do it with MetaMask the same way, but I find it Portis is perfect for users. I've spent a lot of time integrating the gas station network. So when you start, because if you have an empty account, you would start and you would be blocked because you can't send a transaction. So that's the purpose. So it's absolutely seamless. You start playing, you have just one smart contract, that's the ERC20. So it's a pure typical ERC20 that mints the first units when you sign up, and actually it verifies that you already are not a participant, so you have a participant array to check that you just run once and it's a kind of a gift when you arrived. But I don't care too much about the currency. To me, the most interesting part is when you set up to have then other smart contracts. So the decentralized exchange is a really tiny and dumb smart contract at the moment. But my purpose, I didn't have the time to, is to integrate actual smart contracts. I feel like I would have to separate two parts. One would be more tutorial. That's the part you've seen. So mostly for newcomers that want to discover how that works. And the second part, and I'm excited about that, and I hope to find some help to continue on this, would be to make a full city where you have definitely different protocols where you could hang out. And for instance, for the governance process of a particular protocol, you would have a room where you can go and as a character start talking. So I don't feel like I'm too far from that. I spent a lot of time in the creating the interface, and now it's pretty easy to add new things.
Xavier, yeah, sorry, Calvin. So first of all, like Calvin said, this makes me smile. It's like super fun watching you play around on this thing. I guess I have two questions for you. So the artwork, where did all the artwork come from? And then secondly, what's next? Like, where do you want to take this? What would be the next step if you could put more time into this?
Sure. So the artwork, I've mostly used open source digital art. So you have a few websites where you have assets. And actually, I've spent way too much time looking at different tile sets and trying to pick things that were coherent together, that looked nice, but actually they come from various sources. And I tried to pick, but I had fun doing it also.
Well, you did a great job too. You did a good job.
So thank you. And where I want to take it, it's definitely the part where I feel like I'm just starting is I want to really have a full city with many different DeFi protocol where you could have the various interaction. There is probably a lot of question of design on how you can represent, like I did with the markets, how you can present almost as a physical object an operation on the blockchain, because it's very abstract for people when you do those kind of things. So if you could make it look like really you see the coin going and coming back and so on, that's fun. And the social aspect, so the multiplayer part could be a very, it's a light approach to a decentralized digital world, as we have seen already, but a lightweight approach that would allow you to hang out and interact at the same time. So yeah.
Is the idea to develop this further as a standalone game, or do you want to sort of make it more like an infrastructure for all other games to implement these components?
I'm not sure. Yes, as a standalone game. To me, it would be mostly an entry point. So you have somebody that wants to discover this, you point them here, and they can start playing and discover lightly, and maybe even people more veteran can hang out just because they like the social aspect of it. So yeah, I think that would be the design. And
have you been developing games before, or was it just the first time?
No, and that was a painful part. So I've heard the other team have worked a lot also, but I've definitely spent, I can't count how many hours discovering the framework and how to create that. So it's been really hard, but now it's done. It's not so complicated to add then the integration with the smart contract.
Awesome. That was a really cool demo. Yeah, I think the website is under submissions. If anybody wants to play, just click on the project name, and you can try it out too. So with that, please continue building it. I think it's really cool.
Thank you, and please send me feedback.
Absolutely. Mini city for each of our DeFi apps. That'll be awesome. And we can have real governance with the actual town halls. And with that, let's move on to our next team. So we have the project Compound-DApp, and David's already here. So David, whenever you're ready, feel free to share your video.
Hi guys. Yeah, this is our first DeFi app. We built something. We don't have super duper ideas, so just build something very simple. Let me just get right into it. Just share my video.
Make sure you check the audio box.
Oh, wait, I think I need to. computer sound. Shit.
This is Menson. I've worked on this project with another team member by the name of David, and we built our first DeFi app using Compound. There are 3 options here, and as you can see, if you don't connect the wallet, then all the buttons are disabled. So you kind of have to connect. And once you connect, it shows you different supply tokens, borrow tokens, the amounts and the interest, and total collateral. If you click supply, then you're going to be shown the supply tab where you've got the supply token, APY, collateral factor, and total supply. You can enter the number supply token, and then the borrow market, or I could just go here. I mean, it's slower, but it's quicker if you start from the top. Anyhow, there's a list of borrow tokens here with APY, collateral factor, and all that good stuff. And there's these options here, enter market, borrow, repay, borrow, exit market, and then if you go back up here, if you click on FAQ, it should bring you to this tab where there are FAQs. And then now if you take a look at the code, you can see that there's some JavaScript and HTML, of course, and an example of a JavaScript function is over here. Enable buttons, like what I shown earlier. If you don't connect your wallet, then it's not gonna be enabled, so that's what this whole thing does over here. And there's a lot of functions like these in here. There's all the way down here, and the HTMLs all the way here. And you can see all of this code, of course, in the GitHub website. Make sure you check it out. And as for the demo, say you want to supply some tokens. Let's start supply first. 0.1, for example. Supply, confirm, and then you wait for the confirmation. And there it is. And for the borrow market, I'm already entered into the market, so I don't need to do it again. And let's say you want to borrow some DAI and enter 10. Borrow 10 DAI, alright? And confirm the transaction. Wait a bit. Any moment now. There it is, borrow success. And yeah, that's about it.
So that's it. It's a very simple app. I mean, this is the first time we built something like this. The Compound.js just looks so simple to use, so we decided to go for it. And yeah.
Cool. So it's basically an alternative UI for Compound, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Which is actually good because I still cannot get a liquidation price on Compound when I interact. It's like the UI is beautiful on Compound, but for this heaven's sake, man, it's impossible to figure out what my liquidation price is. So I really encourage like a lot of different UIs to come online, and some of them will nail all the different functionalities.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to.
You gotta respond to that, Calvin.
Yeah. Well, first of all, welcome to the Compound developer community. I'm sure the community is excited to have you here. You're part of the gang now. But to really, what Lasse is talking about is ideal for Compound, that there are many interfaces to the protocol, and that some of these interfaces are the ones that the next several thousand or one day millions of users, what they go through to access Compound. So it's really exciting to see you building that type of interface. I guess what I'm curious about is Compound.js is pretty new. I'm glad you were able to use it, but what was the most difficult part for you in putting this together?
I think there's some issue with the one of the protocol. We actually found a bug, and then we try to get certain things that say how many ether that is there, and then also we try to get to like always expecting something. The menu will pop up will allow you to choose different wallet. Just like you go to Compound, I thought it would be available on through the API, which you can just click and it will come up. It doesn't make sense to create from scratch. So Yeah, that's pretty much it. And there's a couple of bugs there, and then I think they fixed one of the bugs. You fixed one of the bugs, and then the other one is, and the other one that we are having issue with. But it's not a big deal, but it's pretty cool actually. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, I think it's clear to see like every interface is a little bit different, and there's definitely things
Yeah,
in yours that
honestly, we
can
did
learn
not
from.
spend a lot of time on this. Maybe like once hour a day for the next 2 weeks. That's pretty much it. So we can build it something from scratch. So it means a lot. I mean, this means that this is API is really good. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, David, you guys must be Compound experts at this point, which is pretty cool. That's awesome. I was also gonna, well, I'll make the comment too, that I think what you're showing is something that I think all these DeFi protocols really want to have happen, which like the protocol is one thing, but you want multiple interfaces. You want this to be like decentralized in terms of how you access this protocol. So it's pretty cool to see you guys do that and also execute on the strategy that I know Calvin and Compound are trying to put out. So it's cool to see that working. Are you new to Ethereum development? And if so, like what would be, just kind of expanding on Calvin's point, what were what were the oddities about building with this SDK, or about like writing on the in kind of Web3?
This is first time building this, yes, and this is for our first app. The most difficult part is just understanding connection between this browser to the MetaMask, and we try to understand how I can connect to MetaMask and get a balance, like not just the balance for the Compound token, but all the tokens. So, and then we can automatically list it on the site, so you can see all the tokens there, and then what's all the balance visible to you. So I think that's probably one of take some time to find out exactly how to do that. Yeah, it's the documentation is not there for this part.
Yeah,
and I think the next
cool.
one probably want to build UMA as well. So we want to try out something different. Yeah, it's cool. It's nice experience though. Thank you so much, guys.
No, it's really great to hear that.
Man, great job.
Especially with your first time, and this is an amazing accomplishment where you've offered an alternate UI to Compound. So I hope the Compound team keeps supporting you, and you can actually make this publish this so others can use it too. And congrats again on this demo.
Thank you. It is online. We're gonna just put out a link so you guys can check it out.
Awesome. I'm sure a few people here will be very interested in retweeting this.
Cool. Thank you.
Great. So with that, we will take a quick 2-minute break. We're at the halfway point. Tokenera.org is the link for those who are curious on this video after. We'll just kind of have all of our judges turn video off, and we'll come back in 2 minutes, and that's when we'll resume with the next team. The next team is going to be Signchain. So Signchain, if you are here, just raise your hands. We see 2 of them, but if there are more than 2 members from your team on this call, we will promote you shortly. We'll resume in a minute or two when Calvin and Lasse come back. All right, we are ready to resume. So Signchain, you are here, and whenever you're ready, you can start sharing your demo.
Yeah, hi everyone. Shall I share the screen?
Yeah, make sure you check the audio box.
Yes, let me play. Hey everyone, this is Kaushik. We build Signchain, a digital signing platform for legal documents. So we are a team of 4 from Consensus Labs taking part in this hackathon. So we all know that legal documents that are signed physically or electronically has delays, verification issues, and are not tamper-proof. So we build Signchain, which manages the tamper-proof digitally signed documents with the help of contracts, DIDs, and decentralized storage. So we have a very simple flow where user uploads the documents, adds the party, stores the document in a secure way, in a confidential way, and timestamps it, and anchors the proof to the contract. So user can access, update, and sign and verify these documents at any time. Signchain makes sure that the proofs and DID credentials are accessible across any platform. It provides privacy with the help of end-to-end encryption and DIDs. With lesser delay and lower cost, the workflow is pretty much efficient. We use Fleek and Filecoin Slate for decentralized storage and Ceramic IDX for decentralized identity. So let's do a demo. So user has to connect the wallet just like any other decentralized application, has to provide few details. Even the notary can sign up in this application. So once sign up is clicked, it will create an IDX account and the profile information will be fed into it. The user can just use the password to log in. User can check out the profile information. We have even created 2 other profiles, 2 other browser. So we have even created the other counterparty so that other party can also sign in this demo. So let's upload a document. So before that, we can select any decentralized storage. Let's select Slate and upload a simple employee agreement. So one transaction will ask for 0.1 ether, which is a notary fee, which will be locked in the contract until the notary notarizes the document. So let's now go to the notary part, so where the notary can view the document, look at the document. If he's happy with the document, he can come back to the document and then notarize it. So immediately after the transaction is confirmed, so you will notice that the notary will immediately get credited with 0.1 ether. So even the counterparty can go and sign the document. The counterparty has signed the document. Anyone can look into the same document details where they can look into all the timestamp of each and every event, that notary event, as well as all the document details. So let's say a particular document, a confidential document, with DD features. We want to launch it in mainnet with contract audit and UI updates. Finally, You can check out our application, which is currently in Rinkeby and Ceramic testnet. Any contribution to our open source repo is also welcome. Thank you. Hey everyone, this is Kaushik. We built.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the really cool and interactive video. So
thank you.
I'll let our judges can ask any questions or dig in with any feedback, and we can take it from there.
All right, I'll go first. So yeah, this is obviously, I mean, this is a really big problem to solve and like very inefficient just to verify that people sign things. I mean, I think DocuSign in the US and some more like advanced jurisdictions, they accept digital signatures. I'm from Germany, where you have to go literally to a notary and the guy reads you the contract and then takes forever, and then he gets a percentage of the value of the contract that's being signed. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And so I think this would be really good that obviously you need like a uniform identity solution, right? That is actually widely accepted. But I think that's not your job, right? That's the job of whatever identity solution you're implementing.
Right.
My question is, why do we still have a notary in your process when the only function of a notary was to verify that, yes, this is actually that person signing and this is that person signing?
Yeah, so the thing is that, so notary is kind of like an optional entity in our platform. So basically, if you want your documents to be notarized, for example, there'll be some legal document where you need expertise opinions. So those people will become notarized. And let's say you want a third party as your witness, so you can ask them to be a witness, not necessarily a notary. So it's up to the people to add different kinds of party. That's why we are implementing identity solution, and we want to establish different kind of profile or different kind of entities. So currently we added only 2 parties in our platform. So I would say, yeah. So as you mentioned, identity is actually big part of our project. So we kind of implemented so that, as you mentioned, DocuSign, there are so many other electronic signature platforms, but the problem what they face is here that, so they have integration with all the different email services or maybe Google or all these authentication services. But if you integrate, there's still not an interoperability. What we're trying to do is, with the help of identity solution, we want to have that interoperability bring into our platform. So yeah, so we can have different kind of parties in our platform, and we're kind of trying to solve that. So along with that, our platform, what we're going to solve is not only that. So we want to standardize the process. As the DocuSign has this different kinds of regulation where this signature has to be regulated by the standards and all those things. So we are also providing confidentiality along with that. Like if you look into DocuSign or Signchain, so they don't have that confidentiality that you still have to trust those people to keep your data safe. So we are providing that along with the DID. So we're linking the documents to the DID so that even you store it in a decentralized storage devices, it's a completely end-to-end encrypted platform.
You sign
yeah, Kaushik.
Sorry, are you mechanical question? Are you signing things with your public key?
No, we are signing with the private key. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, but a key, not an actual signature. You're using an Ethereum address to sign a document.
Currently, yes. So the thing is that we kind of integrate our identity currently, the Ceramic IDX for the profile part and the credential part. But we are still using the Ethereum to sign our in our current platform. As you can see, though, we still have the signature thing pop up in the MetaMask. But eventually, we wanted to move everything to the identity part, because Ceramic is still a stage where they don't have all the things in place. But we are trying to integrate because currently, if you see in our platform, we have 3 different wallet integrations. So the one we maintain for the end-to-end encryption part, one we have to do all the smart contract integration, and one we have for the identity thing. So we want to eventually merge that into just the identity part and have that just a single login thing.
I think like identity is important for humans, but like contracts and machines don't necessarily care about human identities. And even just being able to do like 2 key or basically multi-sig like key signatures is really interesting. It's a lot of applications. Like this project Audius just launched with like musicians and basically listeners, and you could think about like licensing being done in a way where contracts are signed by people with Ethereum keys. I think it's a really promising building block for, legal agreements of the future.
So the main thing that we were pretty much motivated was about legal contracts, because we are working on an arbitration platform in enterprise Ethereum. But we saw that it's not only a problem in enterprise Ethereum, it's there everywhere. We still are facing, even in this remote world of Corona thing happening, we still have to travel to put a stamp for any kind of organization work. So we still see that happening in India in a lot of places for all the government work and all. So we thought that we can also put this in a public, not only put it just or use it for the arbitration platform where we have to deal with the legal things. So where we are actually trying to implement the statement, sign part and everything, but we thought that we can do this in public platform as well.
So we are unfortunately out of time, but I know Hart has a comment he's been trying to make, so I'll let him just quickly do that.
Thanks, Kartik. Yeah, I know we're out of time, but Kaushik, I just want to say I love the name a lot. I love the interface. And I think the use case here is real. Like, even if we just think about like DAOs right now, there's a lot of use case where a DAO might want to actually sign something, even if it's anonymous who it is, but sign something with various use cases. And I think something like this could be extremely useful. So I do think you guys, I would encourage you to consider developing this because I think it could be a useful primitive for a lot of the emerging stuff.
Yeah. So what you told is right. The thing is that we cannot directly move into the completely digital thing. We still have to have the physical document to be signed. That's what we are exactly trying to solve.
Awesome. So thanks again for presenting. We hope you continue working on it. And yeah, let's make a world that lets anonymous organizations sign legal contracts. So thanks again. And we are ready to move on to our next demo, and that is Team Pressed NFT. So I know Rob and Future Rob are here. I'll let them figure out who should be linearly presenting this.
Hello. Let me get my screen. Share computer sound. All right. Hello. For ETHOnline 2020 Hackathon, Dark Labs has built a procedural pipeline for visualizing ERC 721 tokens. NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, are a standard for putting data on the blockchain. These tokens are verifiable proof of ownership created by smart contracts. Each contract has a unique hash, and each token has a unique ID. This gives the token designer the task of making order of the randomness and building a language which can procedurally generate a token analog. Though there is no practical reason to further represent NFTs beyond their own purpose, it is an interesting side effect which does not alter or add to the system. We chose to keep things simple in our prototype by assigning each number in the token ID to a basic shape. The interpreter then combines the objects in order to make a basic yet slightly postmodern ornament. This system is also able to go beyond digital representation and into rapid manufacturing. Since Web 3D relies on Blender, we can often reuse it to reinterpret and output 3D printable objects. We believe that crypto's future holds exciting challenges for designers. We might find that this type of representation is totally superficial, or it could become an enriching aspect of digital ownership. Historically, the designer's job has been to make skins for machinery so people don't get sucked into the gears. But now we find ourselves with objects that don't have gears, but suck you in through mental manipulation. Building tools for abstract constructs such as random numbers can help people recognize complex systems and items, which might just be the new job of the designer in Web 3. All right.
Cool. So it's a very interesting, unique use case of visualizing NFTs. I'll see if some of our judges have any comments and feedback.
Yeah, this is super cool, and it's so different. And I'm just we're probably all a little stunned right now because it doesn't usually. It's like, even just the way technicality, practicality, originality, it's almost none of these categories fit this because it's so. Yeah, it's just a very cool thing basically, and so I don't know if I have any like really on point pressing questions right now. I just think it's very cool.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
So you,
I guess what I ask.
Go ahead, Hart.
Sorry, Calvin. I'm sorry about my internet here. Future Rob versus Rob, which I'm curious about the two of you guys. But I guess, like, first of all, so what shapes did you choose to which numbers? Is it as simple as like you see a number 9 and it's the shape of X, or like give me more about like I'm quite just curious about how you constructed these things. And then secondly, you guys also sort of talked about like 3D printing them. Have you actually 3D printed any of these? I would like, do you have an example of a 3D printed ERC 721?
Not yet. I mean, what I'm really trying to show here is that, you know, you can kind of give it this random language, and it's really just arbitrary. I think it's like 1 as a cube. But, you know, I could imagine if this was really explored more and had an actual brand attached to it, you would have a lot more logos and a lot more items. And yeah, I mean, you can essentially just cloud 3D print now. So if you have a mesh like this, you can always translate it into kind of a keepsake. And kind of the name is like, you know, when you go to a attraction and they have the penny machine that squishes it out and it kind of turns your money into something memorable.
Yeah. That's what I thought about the name, by the way. So that was what was in my head when you with the name. So that part worked. I love that.
So I think there's like a ton of interesting ideas in here. I'm thinking it's like sort of a meta NFT. There's like a bunch of like generative art aspects to it. I'm a big, like you could think about attaching audio. Like you said, any arbitrary sort of rule that you could generate off of whatever code is part of an NFT. There's a platform called Asynchronous Art that does like programmable art based on NFTs. I think you need to talk to them. Like this is an implementation of that I'm sure they would be really interested in looking at or working with or letting their users play with. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that the idea is quite simple, but like just being able to give the owner a little bit of something that they can be like, oh, I recognize that object, might have more power in security even, because numbers aren't exactly like, I mean, you kind of get an idea of your address, but if like 5 letters down, it was different, I wouldn't really be able to tell.
Like a key, like if I owned an NFT that was a digital key, but I wanted a physical representation of that key that I could use in a door or something that I could print from, something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the one thing I was kind of unclear about is like, I'm deriving mine off of token IDs, but I could imagine like everyone kind of handles token IDs differently. And I ended up using the Chainlink random VFR. But once you actually had like a series of numbers, it would be really interesting because you could actually read it. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And yeah, hope to see like a service that lets me get a physical copy of my NFTs. We'll finally find a loophole in making more copies that are not
fungible.
Exactly. Great. Thanks again. And we are ready to move on to our next team, and that is Project SpringUp. And I'll ask Tim to kick off with the video.
Sure. 1 second.
Hello, this is Team SpringUp, and these are the team members. So we're building an application that allows you to support creators and earn rewards from it.
Can you increase the volume of the video?
Sure.
Access to transparent medium to spread your content and expand your reach. The motive behind this was to enforce transparency behind supporters and creators and benefit both parties. It is a wrapper behind Raiden network and Aave protocol. It uses Raiden payment channels, which enables parties to exchange tokens off-chain without requiring layer 1 for every transaction. It uses interest in earning Aave tokens to generate more incentive, allowing supporters to earn rewards for their subscription. On the other hand, the creators can share exclusive content to those supporters. Talking about the implementation, creators can create different subscription models for different rates and share them publicly. Supporters can deposit DAI tokens into the Aave protocol using the application and get Aave tokens in return. These can be transferred to the Raiden account and can be used to pay the creators directly. Now, here's the demo for the application. So this is the landing page for the app. I already have my Raiden node running locally in my MetaMask account linked to the app. Firstly, moving to the creator section. The creator gets a UI which can be shared with other supporters. This section shows the number of supporters and the funds raised. Currently, as we are running locally, the data is done. Also, the section below shows the content which is delivered by the creator based on different levels of support. Now I will be copying the URL and opening it. This allows me to support the creator. This takes the user to the support section where one can see the balance of ETH, DAI, and Aave tokens for MetaMask, as well as the Raiden account. Using the application, one can deposit their DAI tokens and get Aave tokens in return. For instance, I will be depositing 100 DAI tokens. Now, as seen here, the corresponding Aave tokens are added into the account. Now I can directly transfer those Aave tokens into my Raiden account. As displayed here, I have given the 50 Aave tokens into my Raiden account. Similarly, the user can transfer other tokens into his or her account. Now, the supporter can create a payment channel with the corresponding creator and make the payment directly. Given below are the 3 levels of the payment which the supporter can subscribe to. We are currently facing some issues creating payment channels with other users and hence are not able to demonstrate by transferring tokens. These are our future plans for implementation involving deploying to mainnet. We really had a great time learning and building this hackathon. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim and team. Yeah, this is super exciting. First of all, thank you for still presenting, even though you were not able to finish everything you wanted to do. It's really great to see people continuing to still build and showcase what they have accomplished. I'll kind of kick off with one question. I'll let the judges come in. When you were exploring this thing, what other ways did you kind of see people were trying for subscriptions, doing any recurring payments on Ethereum? And I'm just curious, like what you actually had to do a trade-off between before you decided to sort of tackle that problem yourself?
So I would defer this to Manav because he had more, that was more his specialty. Oh, Manav, are you there?
I think he's there.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so basically, we weren't aware of any other subscription things, so we didn't knew anything like that before, and so we were aware of that those things in Web 2, but so we thought this is which I think this would something. So doing it using blockchain would make some, I think, impact and would be beneficial for both the parties. I think.
Awesome. No, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, there's a big missing piece that that we kind of need to still figure out. And the second we get recurring payments here, I think it unlocks a whole new potential of applications and use cases.
What led you guys, just curious, like, you care about this topic, or like, how did you decide to build on this, or like build this particular thing? Like,
so it was mostly just a response to censorship that's becoming popular on a bunch of platforms. And also it's just a smarter way of incentivizing creators to create. The alternatives right now, obviously Patreon is the biggest one, but there's a lot of flaws on their model that I think blockchain solves better. Like I said, censorship's a big one. Also lower fees required. And then also there's just smarter ways to reward creators. Especially one way is rewarding them by if you stake them early on versus if you're staking them when they're already popular. It makes a huge difference, and you should be, as a supporter, you should be rewarded for that.
yeah, that's great, because that also makes it easier to bootstrap a content creator when they're young, right? It gives more incentives to support someone when they don't have momentum yet. And we've seen this very powerful already in DeFi protocols. They take off very quickly because there's usually a strong incentive to be the first and one of the early supporters, and it really works. And before, it was just absolutely impossible to bootstrap a network.
Yeah, agreed. I'd go, guys, first of all, like, very cool to see you build. Built a lot. It looks like you learned a lot. And again, it's like Kartik said, it's a piece of infrastructure, recurring payments, and figuring out better incentive structures for creators is like a big goal. So what's next? What do you want to do next with this? Where do you want to take it?
So yeah, I'd say definitely making the written payment channels work more effectively would be the first step. And then obviously deploying to mainnet would be one of the final steps. In addition to that, I would want to build out more of the creator functionality. I think a cool feature would be having a giveaway where the entries would be based on your level of support. So people that are paying more and supported earlier have a higher percentage chance of winning that possible giveaway.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think it's an important problem, and I like that you framed it as like anti-censorship as well as one of the key advantages, which is an important value. One feature I've often wanted to see from platforms similar to this is like the ability for the fan to sort of call in the creator. Like the creator doesn't have to be the one to sign up for the platform and say like, fans, you can come now. It would be cool to be a fan and say like, hey, I want to give $10 to this person per month or something like that, and leave it there in like an escrow bucket where it can be claimed somehow through some sort of proof. Just an idea, but yeah.
That's a really cool suggestion, actually. Well, go for it, Tim. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. This seems like you were going to say something, Tim. Yeah.
Oh, sorry?
I felt like you were going to say something, and I felt like.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Good. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then I want to thank Manav and Tim for doing their demo, and I hope you get to finish off where you kind of left off with the state channel integrations and continue building.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Awesome. So we are almost at the end of this. So we have 3 more projects to go. And next up, we have Team Durple. So I know Justin, Will, and Ben are here. So whenever you're ready, feel free to share your video.
All right, sharing my screen now. You see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, let's start. Durple, the future of forums.
Hey guys, I'm Justin and I worked on the front end.
I'm Will and I did full stack development.
I'm Ben and I worked on the back end. So Durple is a decentralized social media similar to Reddit with community-owned sub-Durples.
How it works. Users can lurk, comment, post, and update their favorite content. Anyone can create a sub-Durple contract as long as it implements the Durple interface, and every community is independently owned.
All right, this is Durple. This is the front page. Here's some featured subderples. I'm going to visit d/funny right now. And I can view some funny posts. And I can click them to view them. This one looks funny to me. So in order to comment on this, I'm going to have to connect my MetaMask wallet. And it's connected. And I can up-derp it like this. Wait for the transaction to go through, and it's up-derped, and I can leave a comment. Wow, this is hilarious. And press submit.
Wow, that was pretty funny, Will.
Thanks, Justin. I can also go back, view a different subderpal like d/gaming. I can look at these posts here. These are pretty funny. But I'm going to make my own post. And I'm actually going to do the poo emoji picture because I think it's funny. Haha. It's not really related to gaming, but it also sort of is. I just wait for it to appear, and there's my post right there.
So how did we make Durple? The React frontend interacts with smart contracts using ethers.js, and we made our smart contracts through Solidity.
All right, so some of our future plans. We're going to deploy it on a Matic network for low block times. We're going to create a subderpal store for users to create custom subderpals. And we're going to get the community involved. We're going to make them create custom subderpals. They're going to be malleable.
All right, so check it out at durple.xyz. We have a demo running on the Goerli network right now. All right, just a couple things to point out. We managed to deploy on the Matic testnet, so we do have it running on Matic. So right now it's really cheap to use. So every single post only costs like a 10,000th of a cent. And we use IPFS to store our data.
Awesome. Well, congrats on getting it on Matic in the last 24 hours. That was a really cool and entertaining and just attention-grabbing demo. My first question is, how'd you come up with the name? Is this a play on words with Drupal or something else?
Well, the color for Ethereum is purple, and it's decentralized, so Durple.
That's great. That's wonderful. I'll let Hart, Calvin, and Lasse ask questions.
Yeah, guys, I'll start by just saying awesome use of technologies here. Just technically getting it running on Matic, IPFS, and just building the whole thing out is really cool. I am very curious. Well, and again, it fits all the things like decentralization, censorship resistance. It's fun. It's a great project. I'm also really interested in how you could have some of these subderpals create their own communities, or would they have their own tokens, or what are some of your guys' ideas of what a subderpal could be or could look like?
Yeah, so the implementation is pretty open. There's only a few functions that you actually have to have in your smart contract. The rest of it can be however you want. So you can have your own token attached to your contract. You can make your contract do funny things, like you can make upvotes, downvotes, or something. You can add moderation features to it if you want. It's really open because Durple doesn't really care what the smart contract does as long as it follows the interface.
Cool.
Okay, interesting. So a subderpal is a contract.
Correct.
And anyone could build an interface on top of it to recreate the content of the subderpal.
Yeah.
Without requiring Durple.xyz.
Yeah, correct.
That's pretty cool. Reddit doesn't have anything like that, like a Reddit API.
They do. But actually what we were going with Durple is actually the other way around. So you'd use the same Durple interface, but you can switch out the contracts in the back, because you're actually not limited to our contracts. You can actually put in any contract address in the URL, and you can visit that contract however it wants to display itself.
Interesting.
What was the process of porting this to Matic?
It's pretty similar to putting it on any network. Originally we had problems because the endpoints didn't support some of the methods that we were calling, but then we worked it out with the Matic team and we managed to just deploy it we used Ethers.js to deploy it.
Awesome. And you can support any file type that you can host on IPFS.
Yeah, right now, what we've got is just showing images and stuff and text, but in the future, we could definitely add support for more things in the front end.
So do you guys have any wild ideas for like a sub-Durple? Like anything in the back of your minds about like some crazy idea of what one might look like?
I was thinking like a post battle royale where you have to keep all the posts alive by up-derping them, and like they fight to the death by voting, and whichever one remains the longest on the sub-Durple wins or something.
That's a really creative idea. You can literally DDoS by throwing money at the problem here.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I hope to see this more in the hands of other people here. Do just make sure you share this on the attendee channel so all other hackers can look at it and check this out too. But this is really creative and super cool. So thanks again, Team Durple, and we are ready to move on to our second last demo. So Raphael, I know you're here. Can I just get an audio confirmation that you can hear us and you're ready to talk? And I'll share your video from my side.
We are ready.
Perfect. So I'll present your video here, and we can move on to the Q&A after.
Great. Drained external adapter is being presented for ETHOnline. These are the.
I think you need to. You might have not selected audio sharing, because I don't think we can hear it. We just hear it through your speaker's microphone.
No, I did. I think the audio is a little bit low on this one, unfortunately. I'll try this one more time, but
if you want, I can try to comment on the video also, if the audio is better with
sure. Is it okay if I just mute it and then you just talk over it?
Yes, sure.
Okay, let's just do that.
Yes, so this is DrainDA. It's an external adapter from Chainlink, and it gets data from DrainedLove. And DrainedLove, it gives us randomness. It's a randomness beacon, and you get the current signature of the randomness and the previous one, so you can verify. This is the setup for the external adapter. It is a serverless framework it was built with, and it's there is the tests phase, and then we deployed it on Kovan. This is a Solidity smart contract to get the randomness from this external adapter. So you request it, and in the order, and you get in the variable randomness, you get this data. And well, the idea is that the external adapter can, you can get different sorts of data from it, and you get a reliable source of data. It can have a reputation and oracles, right? And you can also add other sorts of offline off-chain computation. You can interact with other blockchains, with client libraries. And the idea of this project is to be a data provider. We uploaded this external adapter on MarketLink and on Kovan, and you can use it on your smart contract, also in Solidity, and build something with it. And the idea is to bring this to marketplace, possibly to mainnet, and this is the result. You can get it as a integer, a number, or you can also like bring other like the bytes that were provided by the random So the future updates, I was thinking also of getting this data with PubSub and build these bridges to possibly other blockchains to fetch this data. But that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So I want to kind of just see if I understood that myself, because this is super cool. So DRAND is an API that lets you offer true randomness as a service, and you have integrated that as an Oracle service right now on testnets, and you want that to be a bit more publicly accessible and available on mainnet soon. Did I miss anything?
Yes, and there are other sources of randomness like VRF and some other ones, but with DRAND, this external adapter makes possible to bring this to Solidity. And also there are other possibilities from this.
Awesome, Raphael. Yeah, Kartik. Raphael, thanks for. Sorry about my delay in my internet, guys. Raphael, awesome project. What drew you to wanting to like pursue randomness? I think it's an important thing, very important thing for the blockchain space for a bunch of reasons. But what drew you here? Like, why did you want to focus on this?
Yes, it's a curious question. I mean, DRAND is used by Filecoin for possibly some governance between nodes and miners, but it's a sort of you research things and they appear and you go after more information. It's a research topic actually. I researched many of these sources of randomness and looking at their differences and their methods, but it's a continuous research actually. And I believe that it can be used like with NIFITs. It's an obvious use case, but for example, with DRAND, I believe they give a lot of useful information that you can build also other infrastructures from it on top of it, other systems. Some consensus indeed, it's possible. So I was trying to bring this infrastructure. It's a small infrastructure, but it's interesting to bring together those infrastructures.
Very cool.
Cool. I've got two quick questions. One is I wasn't familiar with DRAND. I'm sort of looking at the website, but is DRAND itself decentralized?
I believe that they have those hashes. They can be verified from the beginning. So the source of randomness is from this, and you can't alter this source of randomness.
Okay.
It's verifiable from the signatures, from this chain of signatures.
Okay, really cool. And then I googled what hesychasm means. So how does this access to randomness tie to this inner prayer concept?
I was thinking about this concept, and I started developing a project related to IPFS and PowerGate, and I kind of changed it and named it a bit more objectively for DRAND, and went with this path during the hackathon. It was like in the last days, and it's a sort of confusion, but it's an interesting project also. hesychasm, it's open source. It uploads IPFS files to IPFS, and it's an external adapter. I was trying to make experiment with PowerGate as a connection in with an external adapter. But it's a fusion of concepts maybe.
Do you think you're going to continue working on this?
Yes, it is on MarketLink, on testnet, but I'm thinking of building a bridge and to Tezos possibly, or to Polkadot, but it is available already to access this random number from Solidity on Koban. But I'm thinking of going on this direction of bridges, I believe, for now. Trying to use oracles, indeed, trying to use Chainlink for that, because it's an interesting theme also, I believe, and this interoperability with chains, like it's a synchronous like this. But indeed, it's also a difficult topic for research, I believe.
Awesome. Well, Rafael, thanks again for showing us what you built for this hackathon, and I hope that you give a chance for others to try this out, and also give the Filecoin team a heads up on this thing. I'm sure they'll be super interested in this being
yes,
finding about that.
Sharing this, let me share this experiment.
Awesome. So we have our last team that's going to be presenting now. But before Eric kind of jumps on, I want to just give a quick note to our judges. We forgot to add this last project on the sheet. So what you have to do is just refresh your page and you'll see Rafael's project there. It was not there before. So just make sure you click somewhere and so it autosaves and refresh so you can see it. And with that, we are ready for our last demo for the day. And Eric, feel free to start off with the video. Great to see you again in this hackathon.
Hi.
Introducing Reach IDE. I'm Eric Lau, and this is my project for ETHOnline. First, let's look at the problem statement. Reach is a DApp programming language that comes with a compiler. While this is extremely powerful, there are some things that make this non-optimal for development. It is entirely command line based. You compile through the command line and see results on the command line. There is no IDE support for the Reach language model, which has a lot of nuances that you will need to know about for your DApp to compile properly. And while Reach can compile to Ethereum contracts, how you integrate with Ethereum in your development process is not obvious. To solve this problem, I wrote a VS Code extension to provide IDE support when developing decentralized applications with Reach. This gives you live highlighting for Reach compile errors, quick fix suggestions that come directly from the Reach compiler, hover documentation for all Reach statements, and deployment support for Ethereum contracts. Let's take a look. This is a sample project from the Reach tutorials. Let's say you pasted this code into your editor and you have no idea how to get started since there is no IDE support. Simply go to the VS Code Marketplace and search for the Reach IDE extension. Click install, and this lets you get started with Reach development right away without any additional setup. When you go back to the project, you can see that the Reach program now has syntax highlighted. By installing the extension, the Reach compiler is set up automatically. If you make some mistakes in your code that violate the rules of the Reach language, you'll see those errors highlighted without even needing to save the file. For example, Alice has a field that is meant to be public. If you forget to declassify it, you see an error with all of the relevant information. If you try to fix it but you type the wrong thing, the compiler tells you about it and gives you some suggestions that you can use to quick fix. All of these errors and suggestions come directly from the Reach compiler and are presented in a way that is convenient to the developer. Additionally, the IDE extension provides hover documentation for every Reach statement. See all of these statements here? If you're wondering what special meaning they have in Reach, hover over each of them to view their documentation. They even have links that you can click on to bring you to the relevant sections of the Reach website. If you're starting from scratch, simply insert the Reach snippet to get a properly compiling template. When you're done, right-click anywhere to bring up the Reach menu options. For example, you can actually compile your Reach program, or run it, which triggers the end-to-end test, including the front end. Now, that's all great for testing, but how do you deploy it? From the menu, simply choose the option to copy the Ethereum contract bytecode to your clipboard. This gives you the entire compiled bytecode that you can paste into any wallet to deploy onto Ethereum. Then, copy the contract ABI to your clipboard to interact with the contract however you want. Now let's talk about how this was made. This solution makes use of the Reach compiler in the background for live compilation results, quick fix suggestions, and Ethereum contract generation. It provides hover documentation sourced from the Reach reference website, And the language features are implemented using the language server protocol, which makes this solution easily extensible to other code editors. As you can see in the image below, this project implements a VS Code extension and language server, and the server makes use of the Reach compiler directly. If the Reach compiler is updated, for example for syntax changes or to provide better suggestions, the IDE will make use of these automatically. Check out my blog post on Medium for more details on how this project was developed. The next steps for this project are to make use of additional language features, such as code completion and context awareness for even better developer support, and deeper Ethereum integration such as automatic contract deployment to minimize manual steps. This project is available right now on the VS Code Marketplace. All you need to do is search for Reach IDE and click Install. Then you can use it right away to speed up your developments of decentralized applications. Thank you for your time.
Amazing. Thanks so much for that video and the demo, Eric. I do want to give the judges a chance to kind of ask questions, but before that, maybe I think for people who are going to watch this video later, maybe you can just sort of level set this thing by just talking a little bit about what Reach is and sort of what it enables versus Solidity, and we can just kind of go into questions from there.
Yeah, so Reach is a DApp programming language, and some of its features are like safety guarantees. When you do a compilation, it checks a number of theorems, and it does some form of verification to make sure that that your program doesn't break those theorems. So for example, Solidity is an intermediate step. So when you do the compilation, it actually compiles to Solidity in the background and then compiles to bytecode afterwards. But in between, it checks a number of things to make sure, for example, if you don't lock up funds accidentally into the contract and things like that.
Yeah, amazing, Eric. I actually didn't know much about Reach at all, and Kartik asked the question I was going to ask you too, which is to give a little bit more background on Reach. Back to the project though, the VS Code extension and just the general like slickness of how you implemented this is really impressive, and it does seem like a really great service. Like, you know, we all know that the Ethereum ecosystem needs more development tools, so it's like awesome to see stuff like this come into existence. Do you think that Reach is like the future of Ethereum programming? And like, what do you have a relationship with them, or like how did you get so focused or become such an evangelist for the Reach approach?
Well, actually, I just heard of Reach through this hackathon, but I checked out what they have currently, and they didn't have any IDE support, so I thought might as well build an IDE for it. But
very cool.
Yeah. But I think on your question, for example, I think there are some things that Reach can do, but for example, interacting with some other existing contracts, at least from the tutorials that I've seen, that's not something that's not part of the intention. So it's to build some program or contract that you know, has everything defined there, at least from my understanding. So there are certain use cases for it.
Cool.
Good question. Does Reach compile to anything besides Solidity?
It supports Ethereum and Algorand, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, this is well done in using this hackathon to build something that I'm sure is critical to Reach's community. It really highlights what's like awesome about open source development. Is there a lot more to do? Is this ready to use? Are you going to try to use it yourself to develop something, or how do you roll it out to users?
So it is available right now, and it is usable. So it is, for example, you can use it instead of just relying on the compiler for checking your program and so on. Certainly there are a lot more features that can be added, more language specific things like more context awareness and so on. And those are certainly some things that can be added as we move forward.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage you to continue working on this. It seems great.
Thanks.
Have you developed in Solidity? Directly in Solidity?
Yeah, I've done some Solidity development before. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, would you use your own IDE now with Reach? Like, what advantages would it bring? Be faster, more secure?
Yeah, I think if I had a program that made sense with what Reach provides, I think I would do that.
Okay, really interesting.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I think that the Reach team will be definitely happy to learn more about this, and especially when it's a really small team kind of working on the language specifications. This would definitely help them get Reach in the hands of a lot more people. So thanks again, Eric. I hope to see this on, I think it's already in the Visual Studio store, so marketplace. So I hope that other people will try it out and give you a lot more feedback. And thanks for demoing today.
Thanks.
So with that was our last demo for the day. I want to kind of just thank everybody who stayed around for watching the rest of the demos from the attendee side as well. This will be up as a video recording on YouTube shortly, so our sponsors can also check these videos out with the comments. And I want to thank all of our judges, Hart, Lasse, and Calvin, for kind of giving us their Saturday afternoon and morning to kind of talk to a lot of people from so many different parts of the world. And then lastly, Mo and Anna for helping run this thing super smoothly on our side. This was our first attempt coordinating 4 events in parallel. So we kind of got to see a bunch of things around the good and the bad. And we have finally a good rhythm. So we're ready for tomorrow and the day after for the rest of the judging. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for the remaining projects. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you.